You're listening to Keith Engle, the host of TGI Sports Talk on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now, with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live events with confidence.
Good afternoon, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talks MLB update. How's everybody doing today? We're having a little trouble connecting to the National Streaming Sports Roku channel, so we apologize. We'll continue to try to rectify that as best we can going forward. It looks like we're live now, so we'll let that be. Welcome, everybody, on National Streaming Sports. You're watching TGI Sports Talks MLB update. Also, welcome everybody watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all the groups that allow us to share. Greg Rawlings at America's Pastime, The Love for Baseball. John Gonzalez at the Sports Authorities. Flo and the gang at Bottom Line Sports. Let's Talk Sports. Ken Krause, at Golf Buds, Sports of All Sorts, and many, many others. So those of you who watch this later, feel free to follow the show. Feel free to comment on shows that you're watching, and we'll follow up with that later. And if you follow the show, you'll get notified when we go live, like hopefully the rest of our audience does. Hello, Drew. Good to have you with us today. Spring training in full gear. We'll get into, I don't know what we'll talk about. We'll talk about, there's some injuries across the land. Larry Dolan, the owner of the Indians, passed away. What else can we get into? Injuries. Stanton, nobody knows what's going on with him. Gunnar Henderson's out. Benintendi's out 4 to 6 weeks. Gunnar Henderson's probably just a cautionary thing, hopefully. A couple Diamondback pitchers with Tommy John surgery. We'll take a look around baseball, see where the injuries are. Some of them are lingering from the last season or the winter, and some are not. Max Scherzer spoke out about ABS. He wants to know the same thing I want to know. Why can't we have humans judging humans? We'll be opening up in Japan in a couple of weeks. Because where else should the National Pastime open but in Japan? You're brilliant, Rob Manfred. 6 times, and not just him. 6 times, I think, in the last 20 years, we've opened up in Japan. Why aren't we opening up in Cincinnati? Good question. Yankees won't play New York after losses anymore. They'll play That's Life, which I think is really appropriate. What else? I don't know. There's other stuff we can jump into here. Comeback player of the year, possibilities. Maybe some rookies to watch. Mets signed Jose Urena. Isn't he like 100? Could be different. I feel like there's been other Urenas around. And I thought I'd heard, and it was probably, you got to be careful on social media because there's so much bogus nonsense out there. I thought I had seen that Quintana had re-signed with the Mets after Manaea went down, but I guess not. So thanks for pointing that out, Drew, before I said something that isn't correct, because we don't want to do that on this show. And we can bring up your guys, whatever you guys feel like talking about, we'll definitely get into for sure. I did see Horner. Drew brings up half the Cubs infield is injured for the Tokyo series. I know Horner and Shaw, one of the rookies to watch this year, looks like he's going to be if he's not injured, would be the opening day starter. So I guess the Cubs get 2 opening days this year since they're going to open in Japan and in the U.S. Am I just an ugly American? Is that what I am, that I think the America's pastime should open in America? I mean, we've totally screwed over Cincinnati, in my mind, as for decades. I'm pretty sure decades. They had the day to themselves. But we can't have that. Anyway, what do you got, Drew? School hope. Well, Robbie Ray stays healthy. Robbie Ray's a great guy to pair with Scoble. And I believe, am I right? Am I remembering right that Flaherty went back there? Drew and I will do our MLB update show, our preview show here in a couple of weeks. I don't know that I'm going to worry about doing it before that series in Japan, Drew. If I don't, I'll have the ability to rant about that, I suppose, there. Oh, God. Sorry, just paid attention to work as well at the same time. Won't have to do that for much longer. 180 days. This counts. Whoa, geez. This counts weekends as well. We're out of here. Not out of here. You'll still. Sorry, not giving me that easy. Trump kicked Zelensky. I haven't seen much. I haven't seen any news today. It's been a busy work day. We'll see what's going on. Joe West, I tell you, Joe West, I know got a bad rap from some corners. Some people loved him, some people hated him. There's some great videos of Joe West staring people down, taking line drives off the chest, you know. I like him. Finnegan resigns with the Nationals. He's another guy. How old is he? You know, some of these guys, and maybe it's just me and losing track of time, feels like some of these guys are 40 years old. Anyway, back to Drew started to work on his divisional picks, and a couple of divisions are really hard to pick, the Central in particular. That seems to be the case every year, doesn't it? Both Centrals. Put Pittsburgh last. I guess Pittsburgh and Chicago. We'll start with the last place teams and we'll work up, Drew. Oh, I don't know. Maybe someday Pittsburgh will get better. We talked a lot about that on the I was on with, I didn't mention Ralph Williams and RW Media at the top. Check out Ralph's stuff from 4 to 6 p.m., specifically the Sports Corner from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday. I was on as a guest last Tuesday. We talked a lot of baseball, we talked a little about Pittsburgh and their pretty much atrocious track record over the last couple decades, except for a couple of wild cards, maybe here and there. Should never fired Clint Hurdle. Still trying to get Clint Hurdle on the 101 show. You gotta, if you don't follow Clint Hurdle on Facebook, follow him because he's got some very fun, little inspirational videos. I didn't say correct. Ed in Columbus. Sorry, I didn't give you a more proper hello there. There's Ed. Those offensive named Guardians will win the AL Central. Detroit makes the wild card. I kind of agree. I might have Detroit to win. I'm not sure yet. Detroit was my pick last year. That was one of the better picks I made last year to make a lot of great picks last year. But Detroit to make the wild card was probably one of the better ones. Then they had to make a late season push to do it. They need to get out of the gate better this year. I do like your Indians, though. And we'll get into that. I'll give you guys a date. Drew and I haven't really talked about it. We did it on a weeknight. Probably be a Tuesday night, middle of March. Maybe even 3/4 of the way through. It's going to be a busy March for myself, so we'll see. Baseball talk in the middle of a blizzard, Chris F. Grave up in Toronto, or are you further north still, Chris? I don't have a good feel for exactly where you are. Our good friends in Canada. Yes, the Canadians are still good friends of this show. So far. We'll see what happens going forward. But at TGI FTU as well. An interesting sleeper pick for those stat nuts out there. Vinny Capra carrying the ball to cover this spring. I will say this, Chris. I'm not, and I think Drew follows spring more than I do. I am not a huge proponent of what guys do in the spring, good or bad. I don't care about wins and losses unless I'm a team that really needs to, set some momentum. If I'm the Yankees, if they finish under 500 in the spring, am I going to get nervous? No. I worry more about injuries and than what guys do, good or bad. And we'll have to check out Vinny Capra because, quite honestly, I couldn't even tell you who Vinny Capra is at the moment. I haven't even started my deep dive. But as is my want, before Drew speaks up, let me check out Vinny Capra with the Pirates, the aforementioned Pirates. Is that correct? No, he's with the Brewers. I take it back. I see him in a Pirates hat here. So he's having a good spring. What's he play? Shortstop, third base. He's not going to play third base with Brian Hayes there, who's a good fielder, decent bat, no power to speak of. Really thought Brian was going to be a much better. Thought the power would come, and it hasn't yet. But we'll keep an eye on Mr. Capra. What's his? Let me check out what his deal is here. Check out the baseball reference. How old is our man? He's 5'8", small guy. He's 28 years old and never played in the majors. It's a good irreverent name, Chris. Anyway, tell me where you are. Where are you now that you're in the middle of a blizzard? I'm not aware of one in Ontario, but maybe there is. Finnegan and Urena are both 33. Why does it feel like they're both like 53? Jeez. My relationship with time has never been good. Don't tell anyone, but Celine Dion was a greater Canadian import than Wayne Gretzky. Wow. There's a hot take for you. Doesn't she have like that? I don't know what they call the disease, like where your body organs are turning to stone or something. I'm not really sure. I think some people would argue that. And of course, I read an article that Mr. Gretzky's wife is all upset because Canadians, maybe Chris, you can weigh in, are mad at Wayne Gretzky because of his relationship with our president. And hey, why can't we all just get along, man? So I don't know about Celine Dion being a greater import or not. Drew does consider, see, some players. I mean, if Judge got one hit all spring, would I be concerned? No. It's important for rookies. It's important for guys coming back from injury, as Drew mentions here. Maybe some guys who slump badly. I mean, if you're battling for positions, then it matters. I'm not sure that Vinny Capra is actually battling for a position. I'm not even sure. I have to kind of look at the, the Brewers infield situation. Maybe he's going to have a. Let me look in the news. Actually, I can check it out. Chris, hold on here. The more I think about it, let me just back up and see if there's any news I can find about Mr. Capra. 6 RBIs. Holy moly! 5 days ago. 6 RBIs in a game, but a walk-off home run 6 days ago. He has a shot to make the opening day roster. There you go. All right, Chris. With an eye on the roster, Vinny Capra shines in spring debut. These are from the Milwaukee papers and Milwaukee sports reporters. So, Dion and Gretzky, where's the baseball connection? Well, that's a great point. We were just talking about Canadians. I don't know why. Canadians are an important topic these days. Stiff person's disease, named in the Middle Ages as an ancient and terrible disease. It doesn't sound good. Yeah, I think it's different than the one I'm thinking about, because I think the one I'm thinking about, your organs literally turn to stone. Well, I don't know about literally, figuratively turn to stone, I guess I should say. I'll try to find that Dion and Gretzky connection. Gretzky probably would have been a great baseball player, by the way. Problem with spring training for Midwest and East teams, if they go to spring, and then they go back to winter when the season starts. It's an excellent point, Ed. Baseball should do a better job of sending teams west and south to open the season. I mean, I know, and again, I've talked about Cincinnati being historically the place to go, but the season was opening up April 15th then too, or April 10th, and now we're opening up in March. Keep adding playoff teams, Rob. Can go wrong. We don't need to just play baseball in February. Good point, though, Mr. I'm particularly concerned about Capra's. Brewers are set at second. Again, I don't think he's a threat to play. I'm more talking about making the roster, which again, for us fantasy players in short leagues, he would not be a factor. But you get into some of the deep leagues that I've played into, and I don't really play in any deep leagues right now. But a guy like Capra would be he'd be a guy that you'd be following in spring training, because you'd want to find those guys to stash on your roster for when injuries hit. More impressed with Curtis Mead for the Rays, hitting .833. Former prospect who hasn't made good in 2 years yet. Not a great fielder, though. Happy birthday to Mr. Chapman. If you're a right-handed hitter, he'll give you a nice fat one to hit up for a home run. I just watched games. If you haven't watched, I don't know if I've mentioned it on this show or not. Well, we haven't been on it. Oh, last week we were on. I've been watching a series. I think I'm done with it now. Called Game 7 on Prime. It's really good. There's a couple hockey series. There's a couple baseball series, including the Aaron Boone. Aaron effing Boone home run against Boston in 2003. The Cubs and Indians, yes, Indians. I think they were the Indians or still. Series, Ed, in Columbus. The what was that? 2015 now? 16? Might have been 2016, I guess. Yeah, 2016. Really good stuff. It's a really well done series. There's a couple basketball game 7s too. A lot of fun. All these sports documentaries on Prime, on Netflix, great stuff. If you're a golfer, you need to watch Full Swing. Season 3 just dropped, and I think I'm almost done with it. I think I'm through 5 of the 8 episodes. Kyle Karros, any relation to Eric? There you go, son of Eric Karros. 467 for the Rockies. And that's not even in Mile High Stadium, or whatever we're calling it now. Sorry. Rocky Stadium. I'm sure it's got a corporate name. You know what I mean. By the way, you play in Denver. When I worked for Coors back in the aughts, in the 90s and the aughts, worked 20 years. You'd go out there and we'd get tickets to the, we'd win trips out to Golden, Colorado, and always a Rocky game was part of the experience. It is, and we played golf up there too, by the way, and it's quite an experience. Figuring out what clubs to hit when you're more than a mile above sea level is a big difference. I mean, I was hitting pitching wedges, and I'm not a pro. You see pros hitting pitching wedges, 180 yards, not me. Well, and I was younger, by the way. I was in my 30s, late 30s, I think. We played golf up in Castleton, where they played a PGA tournament on this course. Anyway, you'd kill the ball off the tee, but then you couldn't figure out distance. I was hitting pitching wedges, and I'd be 50 yards over the green. I don't know why I got on that topic. Oh, you go to the ballpark, and there is literally a purple row of seats all the way around the stadium that is exactly a mile above sea level. And we walked up and had to sit there, and I got to tell you, tough treading. Canadian import Justin Bieber, greater than Joey Votto and Larry Walker. There's your baseball connection now. I'm not going to. I might buy Selena's better than Joey Votto, and Larry Walker, but I'm not going to buy Justin Bieber for anybody. That Justin Bieber would be a better Canadian import than Chris Fgrave. There you go, Chris. That's where you rank in my list of Canadians. Joey Votto is a really good player, by the way. Larry Walker, in the Hall of Fame. I think he's in the Hall of Fame. Joey Votto will probably be borderline Hall of Famer. Former Oakland A's sensation Eric Karros. It's funny, I don't even know if I remember him playing for the A's. I guess I do at the end of his career. Had most of his productive seasons with the Dodgers and the Cubbies. The A's could probably use him now. It's going to be interesting to see what the A's do in spring training. Or, well, they may be playing in front of more people in spring training. They're playing in Sacramento. They are doing some construction, too, as I watch the Yankee spring training games here and there. They're doing some construction on the stadium to allow the Rays to play there this year, as you know. Cal Quantrill. He was a Marlin at one time. Or, I'm sorry, a Rocky at one time, wasn't he? I'm not sure about... the Marlins. Do we think they're gonna? You see? Yeah, I know they they keep ripping this team apart, though, Chris. If I'm a Miami fan, I don't trust anything they do. The team that made the playoffs was put together by a woman's name I will not remember, the first female GM in baseball history. And the manager's gone. Skip Schoolmaker, good for him. He's gone. He'll get a job next year, by the way. Don't worry, he'll have a job. I'm not sure. The Marlins, they always seem to have pitching, but no hitting. And they don't ever seem to want to have they either won't settle on a plan to build that team and build off something like making the playoffs 2 years ago. They either don't stick to the plan or they don't care to win. They just want to, pocket revenue sharing money and move on. More birthdays. Randy Arozarena, Nico Goodrum, Ricky Stone, I remember, Jim Wolford. We tried to get Jim on the show. Actually, he's a good friend of Greg Pryor, who was one of the first guys I interviewed on this show. Greg Pryor, former Yankee farmhand, and played an integral part as a utility player for the Royals, 1985 World Series team. Also played with the White Sox. Interesting character, man. He's a funny cat. He's going to have a new book coming out. He's got a book out there called The Day the Yankees Made Me Shave, which is... this title's not going to hold up well now. Or maybe it'll help the book sell. But he's got a sequel to that book coming out, and it's really an interesting book if you want to catch it. You can pick it up on Amazon. Who else? Marty Perez, I remember being a weak-hitting... Oh, wait, Marty Perez, dad, Frank Malzone. What? Oh, do I have some kind of dyslexia here? I saw dad. I don't know how I saw dad. Marty Perez is a weak-hitting infielder for the shortstop, mostly, I believe, for the Braves. And Frank Malzone. We're going back in time in the time machine. Walker made the Hall of Fame. I thought so. A little controversial because of my high issue. Great fielder and hitter. I mean, look at the guy had some very good seasons in Montreal as well, in a not so friendly hitters park. Right? I understand it's controversial. I think Larry Walker's a Hall of Famer. I know we do this a lot, usually around Hall of Fame time, but anytime this topic comes up, I go to the stats. All right. What did he do in Montreal before he went to Colorado? Forget about St. Louis. He was over the hill. He had years 23, 93, 22, 86, 1986, 36. That's his first year in Colorado. So he was a steady ball player. Hit 301, 322 his last year in Montreal. Had some injury issues. He was seventh in Rookie of the Year. Bunch of all-star games. top 10. He won an MVP in Colorado. Top 5 in Montreal in 1992. 1994, 11th in the MVP voting. This is in only 103 games, by the way. 19 homers, 86 RBIs, 322, 981 OPS. That's a pretty good year in Montreal. And by the way, those Expos may have won a World Series that year if the season hadn't ended in a strike. They were probably the best team in baseball. Yankees also got screwed that year as well. Thoughts on a late blooming, oh man. Is Mike Yastrzemski 35 years old? For those who don't know, Yaz is Carl Yastrzemski's grandson. Let's check out Mr. Yastrzemski. He played, I think he had a decent year last year, right? Good thing is I can put in Yaz and get all the matches. Mike Yastrzemski's been playing since 2019. Didn't come up till very late. What did he do last year? 18 homers, 57 RBIs, low batting average. This has been his problem, is low batting average, low on base percentages. He's got some pop. I want to say he's a decent fielder, but a bit one-dimensional at the plate, unfortunately. Good platoon player. Probably a good guy to have as your fourth or fifth outfielder on a good team. Certainly not his granddad. I mean, he hit as many as 25 homers in a season at 30 years old. Never made it to the majors till he was 28 years old. Good catch, though, Chris. Marlins aren't maturing. They dumped a bunch of older guys. That's what they keep doing. They're going mostly rookies or second-year guys. Their starting pitchers are in their late 20s. They've had a lot of injuries, as Drew just pointed out. I say that, and then the next sentence I read, since they always get injured, it won't matter. They have a knack for developing really, really good pitchers. Problem is they end up trading them away or losing them in free agency. If I was a Marlins fan, I'd be pissed. And personally, and it's not going to happen, right? I mean, there are lots of cities looking for Major League Baseball. And if these owners don't want to commit to this team and invest in this team and reward the few fans that come to the ballpark, then let them move to Charlotte or Nashville or Portland. Cities that are craving Major League Baseball. And please sell the team to somebody in that area. Same thing with the Rays. If you don't want to go to the ballpark to see a team, and that's a team that wins, they don't invest a lot into the team, but they have a great scouting department. I mean, last year was a certainly not a bellwether season, but they've done more with less than anybody I can think of. But the fans don't come out, so move. Major League Baseball either needs to get into some better markets or contract teams. There's too many players. You look at the pitching staffs. And there's just too many teams. There are so many guys, especially on pitching staffs, who do not belong in the major leagues. Even hitters. There's a lot of guys who don't belong in the major leagues. There's too many teams. And, Rob Manfred will every now and again will throw out the expansion word. There's too many teams now. Just saying. Don't worry, I don't have dyslexia, but just in case, take that next 3 days off. Thank you, Ed. I'll be back on March 1st. A team in Portland. Socks up, boyo, for the hipster baseball. Listen. And again, if you haven't watched the Battered Bastards of Baseball, another great, you can watch it on YouTube for free. Just put in Battered Bastards of Baseball. Bing Russell, who was a great character actor in Westerns mostly in the 50s and 60s, was in a ton of Bonanzas and other TV shows and movies. The father of Kurt Russell. was always a big baseball fan. And he bought this minor league team in Portland, and they played independent baseball. They weren't connected to any major league organization. It's a tremendous, tremendous documentary, if you haven't seen it, about baseball in Portland in the 70s. Battered Bastards of Baseball. One of the great names for a documentary of all time. Rangers had the highest average league last year, but with Evans and Langford. What was the other rookie's name in the outfield? I mean, they had some young guys, but they did have, of course, Scherzer bringing up the average, and a few other older guys. I don't think of them as being that old. And I don't even think of the Marlins as being as high as 27, quite frankly. And they've dropped 2 years over the winter. That's a lot. Interesting. I'm still scratching my head at how Chris Carter got ostracized from baseball because he struck out too much and only hit homers. Now he walks a ton and he still can't get a gig. I don't remember much about Chris Carter. I got to check it out. Chris has got me working the baseball reference really hard today. I remember the name, but I can't. Whoops. I put in Danny Cater. No. I got 2 Chris Carters. I'm going to guess this is him. Oh, I remember Chris Carter now that I see him. Houston, Oakland, Milwaukee. 41 homers and 94 RBIs with 206 strikeouts. There's your problem. And he did walk a bit. I mean, but it's not good, man, when your on-base percentage is going to be 284. 312 for his career. 217 hitter. He had seasons with 29, 37, 24, 41 homers with Milwaukee in 2016. It's funny. This is just, I do remember now that I see his face. And I'm usually pretty good with some of these guys. I'm just not following it. Evan Carter is the guy I was thinking of. Evans, right? I'm sorry, Evan Carter. And who's the other guy though, Drew? Let's see. Let me go to, you'll probably find it before I do. Boop. Depth chart. Langford. Yeah, I said Langford. Yeah. With those 2 guys, you got DeGrom bringing it up. Heim's not old. Berger's now on the team. Simeon's not young. Seager. Yeah, I guess they did at Evalde. Higgy's on that team now. Nice. They're a bounce back possibility. But again, and I know if Alan Perales were here with me, he'd argue with me. I don't see the pitching still. DeGrom's going to get hurt. John Gray gets hurt all the time. Tyler Mahle always gets hurt. Cody Bradford, I can't even believe is starting in the major leagues. Not crazy about their bullpen either. So as we start to look at before our preseason special, Drew, I'm not going to be bullish on the Rangers at the moment. Anthony Goss is another hitter in name only who was converted to relief pitching. I do remember Ursich converting. Interesting. Again, 3/4 of you jokers in Major League Baseball just play softball and hit homers or strike out. I agreed 100%. Oh, that's a good question. He's kind of old now, though, to play, I think, Chris, isn't he? Well, still, I guess that's 8 years ago he's out of baseball. He's 38 years old. He's been out of baseball 8 years. I don't even remember him playing with the Yankees, and he played there in 2017, had 8 homers, 26 RBIs. he's certainly a three true outcome guy, except the walks were 76 was his high for walks. See, and again, I know you can say baseball's blackballed him, and I'll agree with you, but I don't want to watch these guys play. I mean, that's one thing where I'm very consistent, right? I do not enjoy the Joey Gallos of the world. I don't enjoy even the Giancarlo Stantons who hit a little bit more for average than these guys, but still leave a ton of guys on base. Go a month. They carry a team for a week and then go to sleep for a month. But Chris Carter, he had a pretty good run for 4 years. His really his biggest year was in Milwaukee, but he had 3 decent years again, home run and RBI wise, with the Astros before that. Interesting stuff. Chris is digging deep today. Let's look at some injury. You know what? I'm not gonna look at the injuries. It's boring. Let's look at. I want to look at. Let's talk about some of the guys who may have maybe candidates for comeback player of the year. And I'll use an article to kind of get us, on the right track. Do I have the right page up? Crap. Maybe it was it was in this one. Hold on. Get rid of the rookies. What happens often is I'll find these damn things and I lose them. All right. Here's 10 guys and see if there's anybody else on here that you would agree with. Maybe you don't agree these guys will come back, or you may have somebody else add to the list. What do you got here? Mike Stanton was a much better player than Giancarlo Stanton. Thank you, Drew. There's a guy who's never in baseball shape, right? He looks like Adonis out there, but he runs like I run. What do you got, Chris? You got a funny one. Mark McGuire, I'm assuming you're talking about, admitted to juice for injuries in his back and enjoying the benefits. So for getting through injuries, imagine if Bo had roided up. Bo Jackson is the most freakish athlete of my lifetime. Now, I know that there were some great athletes back in the day, the Jim Thorpes and whatnot, but I cannot believe there were any more talented, multifaceted talented than Bo Jackson. Another great, I think it's a 30 for 30. You don't know Bo. Great 30 for 30. Anyway, couple guys. Sandy Alcantara for the Marlins, a guy that I love. We talked about young pitchers with the Marlins. They end up getting hurt. Won the Cy Young in 2022 and finished 10th the following year, I believe. And then he got hurt. I think, listen, if he's healthy, he's a great guy to say comeback player of the year. And he might even be a Cy Young contender because you don't have to win a bunch of games. And you're not going to win a bunch of games with the Marlins. And the word is he looks great, strong, and healthy. Shane McClanahan from the Rays, another great pitcher. He was probably just as dominant as Alcantara. Finished 6th, I think, that year in the same year in the American League. And he's been hurt, I think, the last couple of years, right? Had Tommy John surgery. Supposedly he's healthy. Kevin Cash says, an obvious highlight of our camp thus far is that Mac looks like Mac. Well, we'll see what happens when he's pitching against major league pitchers or major league hitters all day long. Jacob deGrom, I'm not buying this one. So I'll buy these first two. I'll buy and sell. Buy and sell. Guys, you can give me your comments. Buy and sell. Sandy Alcantara, buy. Shane McClanahan, I'll buy. Jacob deGrom, I'm not buying. This guy's been hurt more than he hasn't been hurt in the last 6 years. He is one. Chris Young says he's one of the best pitchers in the world when he's healthy. I mean, he came back and made, I think, 5. What did he make last year? 5 starts? The end of the year, maybe. He didn't make it through 12 his first year with Texas. I don't think he made 12, 15 starts the year before that with the Mets. He was healthy. The only stretch I remember him healthy was about 3 years, 17, 18, 19. He won 2 Cy Young Awards. He's a great pitcher. He's going to get hurt. I'm selling this. Spencer Strider for the Braves. I'm going to buy this one only because I think the Braves have had a pretty good track record with injured pitchers. So Spencer Strider, I'll buy. Another really good pitcher. Finished in the top 5 as Cy Young voting, I believe, in 2023. Ronald Acuna Jr. for the Braves. He had a really bad injury. He's as bad an injury as you can get with the especially when so much of his game relies on speed as well. He's such a great two-way player going 40-70, the only member of that 40-70 team, or just a tremendous year that he had when he won the MVP 2 years ago. So will he be able to run the way that he did? You know, how long is he going to be out before the season starts? I'll buy Acuna too, just because he's so talented. Mike Trout, sell. He's played 85 or more games in a season just once in the last 4 years, including only 29 games last year. They're moving him to right field, trying to save some wear and tear. They probably should just DH him. He'll be 34 years old. I can't believe he's been 34 years old. He was an all-star in 11 of the past 13 seasons. He's won 3 MVP awards, but he hasn't been healthy. Gosh, when was the last time he was healthy? I'm selling. Great player. And it's sad. I don't like to sell. Matt McClain for the Reds. I'm going to buy. I kept hearing he'd be back all year. Drew knows I was very high on this guy last year. He actually sunk 3 fantasy leagues for me. Thank you. I did make the playoffs in 2 of them, but the other one, he just tanked me. I kept waiting. Had a great rookie season in 2023, and last year he just couldn't get over the shoulder injury that I think hurt him to the tail end of 2023. I'm buying Matt McClain, and I'll get to your comments here in just a second. Senga for the Mets. I'm gonna sell. I'm gonna sell on Senga. There's gonna be so much pressure on this guy, because the Mets really need him to step up with their pitching issues. There's gonna be a lot of pressure on this team to win this year. I just feel like in New York, it's gonna be very tough to overcome. Felix Bautista for the Orioles. I'll buy this one. One of the best relief pitchers in baseball 2 years ago. Underwent Tommy John surgery, missed all of last year. I think he's young enough, and I think relief pitchers have a better chance to come back from this injury than, say, a starter. It's just my opinion. I think he'll be fine. Christian Yelich, he didn't have a bad year last year, so I don't know why he's on this list. Well, he only had 11 homers, 42 RBIs, 21 stolen bases through 73 games. And then he got hurt. I guess I can call this one. I'm going to sell this one, though, too. I like Christian Yelich a lot. Carried a lot of my really deep fantasy teams that I had in the past for a number of years. He's a guy that I had in my farm system for quite a while before he came up with the Marlins. And managed to keep him on that roster for quite a while before I left that league, actually, after 30-some years. But he had really dipped in Milwaukee the last couple of years. The year before last, he had a pretty solid season. He was having a decent season last year. I just don't think he's coming back from this major back surgery. This is a Don Mattingly type situation. So I'm going to sell on those guys. You can make some comments on any of those guys or anybody else. Drew, this is Chris, says there's still an interesting list of free agents. A name that doesn't even come up is Ruffned. Who? Where do you get these guys? You just want to make me work today, man. Oh, Odor. You didn't give me the full name. Now I know what you're talking about. I watch this guy play with the Yankees, and he's, he didn't play last year in the major leagues. So I'm not sure that he's going to be coming back anytime soon. Watch him play with the Yankees. He had some decent years in Texas early in his career. Had some pretty good pop. He got to the Yankees, and I wasn't impressed with his game overall, his defense or his approach at the plate. Last played with San Diego 2 years ago. Jose Abreu. If we had Ichiro'd him with a combined career stats, 447 career homers and nearly 2,500 hits. Yeah, he was so bad last year, though. I'm pretty sure he's not getting. I don't think he's in camp this year. Drew, maybe you know a little more than I do on that. Let me check it out. Let's see if he's anywhere. I don't think he is. And we don't even know. He's one of those guys. I don't even think we know his age, especially the Cubans, man. You never know their age. He hit 124 last year with 2 home runs and 7 RBIs. He had just 14 hits and 113 at bats before the Astros cut bait. He's listed at 38. If we cut him open and count the rings, he might be 48, Chris. He had a great career. You're right. Debuted at 27 years old, languished in Cuba for years before that. Hit 263 home runs. He was a really, really good, productive, dangerous player for his entire time with the White Sox. Faded a little bit his last season there before Houston picked him up, and he bounced back with a decent season. Not a great season in 2023, but the wheels just came off last year. Drew talking about that's a good point, Drew. He didn't come back necessarily so well the first year back, Acuna, after his last injury, so he's not buying there. Studies have shown that pitchers are good for 2 or 3 years after, for 2 or 3 years after Tommy John surgery. So DeGrom may actually make it through the year. So you're talking about 2 or 3 years. It's before they're good. They're not good until 2 or 3 years after the surgery. Is that what we're saying? Yeah. See, here's the thing with Yelich, and this is why I'm selling. I watched this same thing happen, and from what I understand, it's very similar to what Donnie Baseball went through. And I watched him go from arguably the best player in baseball to a shell of himself. The last, 4 or 5 years, really. So I'm not buying Yelich, and I'm not buying DeGrom only because he's going to get hurt. Now, if the studies show that pitchers are good, if you're saying you got to wait 2 or 3 years and then you're good, I think it says you're good for 2 or 3 years. Well, he hasn't. When did he have the surgery? Oh, I see. You're right. He had the surgery. Okay, I'm missing because he's had so many surgeries. I'm forgetting, I guess, that he had one just a year ago, right? A little over a year ago. Keep an eye on Drew. Drew Rasmussen's a good name. Who's also coming back from injury. Rays have got a ton of guys. I tell you what, if the injured pitchers pitch well that the Rays have, they'll be they could be comeback team of the year. He pitched very well in a few innings when he came back at the end of last year and looked good. Rasmussen, McClanahan is another guy that I'm thinking of or trying to think of. I thought there was another guy kind of around the same time. started to pick it up around the same time as those two guys. I can't think of the name to save my life. Pirates still a destination for a veteran first baseman. Abreu. Can JD Martinez? No, I don't think JD Martinez. I don't know if he's played. I don't know how much defense at all he's played in about. Oops, I should just. That's all right. JD Martinez. Hold on a second. Let's see the last time he played the field. I do not think JD Martinez can handle the leather. No, wherever he goes, I think he's going to be a. See if I can. Here's his fielding. He has not had a glove on since 2019. Is that right? No, I'm sorry. He had 3 games. He played in the outfield. In 2023, 3 games in 23, 8 games in 21. He hasn't even played 100 games in the field since 2019 total. And he has never played first base. So I'm not sure that he's going to be a guy. Listen, if I'm a team, I don't know if I'm taking a shot at a 38-year-old Abreu after hitting 112. But Yankees are kicking JD Martinez around, by the way, since they are very uncertain about what's going to happen with Stan, with tendonitis in both elbows. He left camp the other day with what he called personal issues. I'm assuming his elbows are his personal issues. And again, I'm going to guess these issues stem from the way he trains. We don't train like baseball players anymore. We don't get in baseball shape and make sure that we've got a secure and strong base, right? Strong legs, strong torso. We do all this weight training, and I guarantee you this is tied to that somewhere. But the Yankees have been kicking the tires on JD Martinez, and you may see that happen if Stanton's out for any period of time. Ben Rice is having a decent camp. The Yankees are still kind of high on him. He did have 3 homers in a game last year, if that means anything. They don't think Spencer Jones is ready. I don't think he's even a thought of potentially playing. He's changed his whole swing, and they know he needs time in the minors. Struck out like 220 times last year. I think about Daniel Vogelbach, and I have a picture of me in a freaking baseball uniform. Vogelbach is not, with his size and his energy, reminds me a bit of Chris Farley. Any motion makes him seem larger than life. I think many of them thought he was showing them up with the slightest of shoulder shrugs on questionable calls. Oh, God. That guy, I mean, at his size, it's remarkable that he played as well as he did. Couldn't hit lefties to save his life. But he had a couple good years in Pittsburgh. I don't think he did much for the Mets when they brought him over 2 years ago for the stretch run. But I like the Chris Farley comparison. Pitchers tend to be good for 2 or 3 years after the surgery before they get re-injured. Gotcha. Springs might be the guy that I'm thinking of. Yeah. Thank you, Drew. Drew's got a way of pulling the things out of my brain I can't get. Thank you, Drew. There's actually a good Woodruff is another one to think about, whether he'll play enough. Shane Bieber, Justin's big brother Shane. I kid, Ed. That's a good one. I like Woodruff though a lot. Bieber, I'm not so sure if he's going to be back. No, thank you. And we know he can't handle the bag. Scott Colby, good to see you with us, buddy. Scott always comes in late, man. When I'm getting ready to go, Scott's coming in. Got to get in here earlier, my friend. You've got so much to offer. JD Martinez at tops right is at tops right now in his career. 15 homer guy who's a bench bat. I would buy that. Had some good years for your team in Boston. Had some good years with the Dodgers. Yankees, as I said, are kicking it around in case Stanton can't play, but they've also got some options. like Ben Rice internally. Sparky Anderson was no dummy with what Juan Gonzalez was doing to turn himself into Hercules with the media room. He should stop working out so much, right? I mean, this is why we see oblique. Who heard of an oblique injury in 1975? Now, maybe it was called something else, but I don't remember it until guys started working out. And again, they work out, but they don't work out to get in baseball shape. Nurses won't allow it. Too much excitement for you, more than a couple of minutes on with me. He was very good in Boston for sure. Long gone. A lot of, a very big, he was a good ball player anyway, but listen, he certainly blew up. Where'd he go after Texas? Baltimore? They didn't make obliques till 2015. I have no obliques for sure. I had my obliques removed, or they just disappeared, one or the other. Dave Guyette up in Amsterdam. Good afternoon. Sorry you're getting here a little late. We only got a couple minutes left. Anyway, we talked about a lot. So a lot more to talk about. I'll get with Drew. We'll come up with a time for the preview show, a day and time. We'll probably do it at like 7 o'clock on a Tuesday. So we'll start. Let me look at the dates. And let me just look at dates right now real quick. We're in March. We're looking at probably, I'm going to say either the 18th or the 25th, probably, Drew, because I want to make sure we get close enough to final rosters as we can, so we can do a really good in-depth we don't have excuses for our bad picks. Nolan Ryan, first player to advocate weight training, and this was in 1993. Yeah, but I think lifting leg, getting his legs strong. Again, Nolan Ryan's a great example of what I'm talking about. Nolan Ryan lasted as long as he did because he kept his lower body in such great shape for a long baseball season. I'm not saying he didn't lift any weights. I'm not saying nobody lifted weights previously, Chris, but they certainly didn't. Weren't bench pressing. Look like they could bench press 500 pounds. I think that started around the 90s. I think the timing is right when guys started to really get big and start working out the wrong way. But anyway, good show today, guys. We'll be back on Sunday with the Stream of Consciousness. We'll hope you're there. Scott, please come in, and hopefully you'll be there before 25 after 10. And we'll be on at 8:30. I'll be on at 8 o'clock with the big football show on National Streaming Sports, and if able, I'll share the first half hour of that. Jose Iglesias still available. Might be one of the best free agents out there. Certainly one of the best singing free agents out there. You'll be there at 7:30. You'll be an hour early then, so you'll be right on time. It was fun as usual. We had a lot of fun. Will be more and more baseball. Verdugo. Well, now that he can grow his hair back, maybe he can play, and we'll bring him back to the Yankees, because he said that was a big problem. Plus, wasn't he allergic to his batting gloves or some freaking thing? What was that all about? Anyway, we're going to wrap it up, guys, because we're going to get knocked off of National Streaming Sports here in a second anyway. So we'll see you next Friday with the MLB update, and I'll be back on Sunday with the Stream of Consciousness. Thanks, guys, for your participation. We'll see you soon. See you later. Bye-bye.
You're listening to Keith Engle, the host of TGI Sports Talk, on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel.